All right. What were Isaac's sons' names? Isaac's sons. Going back to Old Testament. Yes, correct. All right. God promised the Israelites to give them a good land. What did he say it would flow with? What's up? Joking. Remember, raise your hand. Who became the king of Israel after Saul?
Yeah.
David.
Yeah. I heard that video.
What was the name of the woman who had spies at Jericho?
I guess. Yeah.
They had. What people were David standing when he was king? What group of people? Yes. On to Daniel here. Who did Daniel interpret a dream for in Babylon? What person? Nebuchadnezzar. Yes. Can you spell it? Can you? All right.
20 minutes. I think it is. I think we're trying to go after 2 lanes. I don't know. We'll find out today.
It's a hard one.
Really?
I guess y'all people are like jumped out and left.
Yeah.
I just never seen you wearing that.
My alma mater, Bethel, purple and gold. Not where I work now. They dominate purple and gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've worn a lot of purple and gold in my life.
I just had never seen you in it.
If you're late, you got to sit up front.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. we're finishing up our, does anybody need some books? We're getting to the finish line here. We're studying Hedges. Does anybody want a book? Anybody need a book? I'll pass a few out here. There you go.
I'll take one.
All right, then. Have one left just for you.
Thank you.
Take it back to Oak City with you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Light rating.
Light reading. All right. Roasted. You got to finish me. Make it up. All right, Alan, would you mind leading us in a word of prayer, please, sir? Sorry, class.
Let's go, God, in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this beautiful day and all the many blessings that you've given us. We ask that you help us to take what we learn here, apply it to our lives, help us to build stronger marriages, help us to plant hedges and protect our marriage that we have. Forgive us when we fall short and sin, Lord. Help us to make good decisions. Help us to stay on the righteous path and keep us away from the evil one. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alan. Okay, we're coming up to the end of our quarter here. We've got today and Wednesday, and then we'll be done with our Hedges class. And since we've got a lot of new faces, if the remaining will bear with me for about 5 or 10 minutes, this is a marriage class of how to build hedges around our marriages and to make ourselves stronger, to protect it from the outside, to make us better, to be protective of one another, and pointing out some things that we're doing well, maybe some things that we're lacking in. It's for the young and the old. We have older married people that we have grown children. Some are newborn, some are dating, some are newly married. So these will go to the test of time to give ourselves examples of what we've done well, maybe some of the struggles we've been through, to kind of share our life experiences. This author uses a lot of his own history and his own dating and his own marriage of what he went through and how he sees his marriage. Not a tremendous amount of verses in today's lesson. We'll look at a few, but today he actually tells his love story in what he's done. We're in part 3 now. We're going to review. We've been through 6 hedges in the class. Okay, so as the name of the class goes, he's given us 6. And does the class remember what the first one was? What's the first hedge that we have to remember? Who is company? What do we mean by that? Okay, what was the example that we gave for that? What do we mean by that? What was that hedge number 1?
When you're in the presence of the opposite sex, and when it becomes all appearing as a relationship, have a third person there with you.
Correct. Right. Thank you. If at all avoidable, sometimes in a job atmosphere that's unavoidable. Sometimes you may have to have a one-on-one meeting or a conversation. But for me, I've set boundaries in myself and my business, I try not to have one-on-one meetings with clients with the door closed of a female of the opposite sex, or I try to have a third person in the room with me. I never have any meals or coffees one-on-one with the opposite sex for any reason. If I can possibly avoid it, I would have it in my office, not publicly. So those are just some things that you want to be aware of. Okay, so that was hedge number 1. What was hedge number 2? Touchy. And what was that all about? Pretty obvious. Beware of how you touch someone of the opposite sex. The appearance that you're giving off on somebody. This was one of my things that I've been aware of over the years. I'm a toucher. Y'all heard me say that many times. I'm normally endeared by touching you on the shoulder. I grew up with Rachel and Megan. I would probably go up and touch them on the shoulder while I'm greeting them. They probably don't realize that, but I always have. It's just who I am. Megan's a hugger. I know that. And so, but, you have to be aware that if I'm coming to Natalie, if I'm coming to someone of the opposite sex, be aware of how you're touching the other person and what kind of message you may be sending. And even the woman back to the man. Be careful about what kind of message you may or may not be sending to the other person. This goes obviously both ways. I'm giving you from my male perspective, but it goes both ways. So you don't ever want to take for granted that you think that it's just totally innocent and the other person's not misreading your intentions. What was number 3?
On compliments. Some compliments don't pay.
Can you give us an example of that? What kind of compliments are we talking about?
Be very careful, especially with compliments on appearance, that it can be taken the wrong way or you're going too far.
Okay. Trying to stay more impersonal to the person. Maybe an article of clothes if you felt like, or a hairstyle or something very generic. Be careful about crossing that line, crossing that boundary. And do we really need to give an example of that? Anybody in here? I know I don't. Does anybody? We'll move on then. So just be careful with our compliments. That's not your spouse or your loved one. There's no reason for that. There's no room for that. What's number 4?
Chris, I'm not sure we talked about complimenting our spouses very much during this whole series of lessons, and I think that's very important. We've been married 53 years, and Deb tells me this morning, you look very good, you look nice. And I try to give him compliments, and I think all y'all probably do too, but we can't forget that they still need acclamation of our attention and love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we talked about the little things, right? That's not a little thing. It sounds like a little thing, but that's not a little thing to always compliment your spouse. And you think that, hey, that's okay, I don't need to hear it. They need to hear it. It's important for you to say it and for them to hear it, right? So what's number 4?
Looking down the barrel of a loaded gun.
Flirtation. If people misunderstand what we mean by that, absolutely. It's no secret that, and I asked my kids this morning because this goes with the lesson where me and their mom met. What do we make, Preston?
Dollywood.
Dollywood, thank you. So that was our deal. We met at Dollywood. Before I knew even who their mother was, I flirted with all the girls in all the departments because I wanted Philly cheesesteak, cookies, ice cream, cinnamon bread, and they could have been 25 or 75. I flirted with all of them. I got everything. I gained 20 pounds this summer. So, but I never did that when I started dating Amy, and I haven't flirted with anybody since, to my knowledge. It's very important that I don't even give that impression to another woman. that's saved for her. There's no reason to even get close to that line, for them to even think that you're getting close to that line. That's reserved for the one that I said on July 9th, 1994. And so I would be real careful. Those of you who think that some of the guys, we think we're funnier than what we are. We think we're being funny, but sometimes that may cross that line. We got to be real careful with that. So we just have to be aware. All of these things in and of itself, I'm not saying that it's just totally sinful, but for us not to pay attention that these could be issues in crossing these boundaries and not being protective of what we have. I don't want anybody to come in and to disrupt anything that I've worked hard for, that I cherish. And so I don't want to give the appearance, I don't want to give anybody a crack to come in that space. Number 5, what was number 5? Memories. And what do we mean by that? What were the memories we're talking about? What kind of memories do we want to think about? He mentioned it in the course of wedding vows, but it can go more than that. You know, sometimes you might slip your spouse a note with the wedding vow, say, hey, I still would, I still do, or for better or for worse. You know, and a lot of times we can see that in action. You know, when you're sick, or if you're in a hospital, if you have loved ones, you know, a lot of these memories it's good to be reminded, like, hey, I would do it all over again. It's important to remember that when we're going through, especially hard times, or challenging times. Because sometimes, you know, life can be a roller coaster. You know, relationships aren't always the smoothest thing, right? And so even our relationship with Christ can have some bumpy roads sometimes. To my knowledge, I don't think anything in life is just totally smooth. So how do we come through the smooth? So we have to come back and remember what started this journey to start with. And last, number 6. What was 6? We discussed this, I believe, Wednesday, Sunday, or Wednesday. Wednesday night.
Quality time versus quantity time.
Quality versus quantity. Which one's more important?
We decided both.
Anybody disagree with that? So I won't put anybody on the spot that if you had to choose one. Now some life, job, sometimes that's going to dictate itself, unfortunately. That there is no alternative to that. So you really, if you can't produce quantity, then you got to make sure the quality is there. You can't get lazy when you come home and think that, hey, I'm tired, I'm going to sit this one out. We don't have that luxury, especially us fathers if you've got kids. You don't have that luxury. Moms, we don't have that luxury to choose one or the other. Now, there's going to be times where we talked about this morning on the way here. Sometimes, you know, we've seen this where both spouses sometimes work, and we have a competition when we come home at night. Who's tireder? Right? Who's going to cook? Who's going to clean? Who's going to? I mean, really? So we really want to keep score and talk about who's going to define these roles. So the thing is, we have to really be on the same page, and communication solves a lot of these between the husband and the spouse. We have to talk, and we have to communicate about what our relationship is. And you think about it, you know, we were married in our younger 20s, mid to young 20s, and we've been married a lot longer than when we were alive. So we were just beginning to grow. We've grown so much more as a married couple than we were as a single couple. So, you know, if you're not careful, you continue to grow, but you grow this way, and you don't grow together. So communication takes care of a lot of that, right, Wayne? Okay. Any comments so far? That's kind of a 15-minute synopsis, but this is kind of where we've been in the last 12 weeks. And we're kind of summarizing. Now we've transitioned to the third part of Everybody Loves a Love Story. number 13. And honestly, he just tells a story about how he met his wife. Did anybody have a chance to read it? Okay. So the story is when he met his wife, he was in the Chicago area, and they were about 2 hours apart. And they set up on a blind date, and it was not love at first sight. He thought she was nice, and it was not until they had a couple more double dates. So they had 3 double dates, and it just wasn't clicking, and he didn't think she was going to do it for him. On the 4th date, they had a single date, and for some reason it clicked. She wanted to cook a meal for him. I guess he saw her in a domestic role or something. I don't know. But she invited him over to eat. She cooked all the fixings for him, and he saw her in the kitchen, and he just took off. His love bells went off, and he really sped past her. He said, "I'm going to marry this girl." So, but let's think about that. That's how fast men can go from 0 to 100. And so, at that point, he couldn't get enough of her. He would drive 2 hours just to see her for 30 minutes, and then go back home. So he had it bad. It didn't take him long. And I was thinking about myself, and I don't know if Amy will remember this. Do you remember how many dates we were on? I told you when I thought that you could be my forever person. How many dates had we been on? Which date?
I think it was 4 months into the relationship.
Okay. What you going with?
How many dates is that?
Yeah, that's when I told you. That's when I told you I could. Second date. Second date. Our first date was on a Thursday night. She was in school. I drove 30 minutes from UT Knoxville, picked her up. Went to a nice dinner. Picked her up Saturday for a Tennessee-Florida football game. Who won? Tennessee. Beat the dog mess out of you guys.
One of the rare times.
Well, yeah. Stevensburger, first year. Driving rainstorm. Middle of the 3rd quarter. Sitting in the top deck. There was at least 30 to 40 seconds where I could not see the field. Go home and YouTube it today, you'll see what I mean. There are sometimes where you can hear the announcer, the crowd's roaring, can't see anything. It's raining that hard. Amy had a green jumpsuit on, white kids. Neyland Stadium, you're not allowed to have an umbrella. She never moved. She never said, "I'm going to run down. I'm going to fix my hair. I don't want to get wet." She never moved. Sat there and just got soaked. Mascara running down her face. White socks and kids turned green, or running down, and she never complained and never moved. I said she could be a keeper. Because she wasn't all about the appearances and wasn't trying to be fake, something she wasn't. Just didn't try to put on anything that she was. She's who she was. And I just said, "Hey, I like that." Second date. Now, you don't really know that quick, but I knew that I was on to something. Right? I just didn't tell you for 4 months. So, in this love story, he talks about, he wants y'all to share some of your ideas about when you first started dating, what attracted you to her or him, and how long did it take you to realize that you may have the person that you've been looking for? Now, over the past 12 weeks, y'all have been somewhat cooperative. So feel free to share before I start calling on somebody, Alan. Thanks for volunteering. Why don't you go first and tell us? I know we've shared some of these stories before, but it's important for all of us to hear what first attracted you to her, how long did you date, and when did you think that you knew? How long did it take you?
So I think it's always good when she loves sports. You know, you got a similar story. We both went to the University of Memphis, basketball, football games. So that's when you got a lot in common. when you first start dating, you don't think, can I marry this person? In my mind, you think, well, we've got a couple similarities. You start dating, and then maybe third date, fourth date, you start thinking, this is really going good. I'd like to continue this forever. And it just kind of goes from there.
So are you saying 3 or 4 dates? You're thinking this may have be some possibilities.
Yep.
Jake, what about you? You agree with that?
I mean, I'm more of a person that needs time, but I mean, it did not take long.
Yeah.
Through that she could be the one. But I'm not a 1 or 2 date kind of a person, but we saw each other a lot throughout the first summer of dating. And by the end of that,
yeah.
The problem was the long distance for a long time. It was tough.
Right. Yeah. There is no wrong answer here. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot because it doesn't matter if you take 6 years. That's your journey. So I'm not being critical. I'm just saying it can be real fast for some of us. Some of us are more methodical. Sometimes it's a long distance thing. I remember because me and Amy were dating, and I graduated, and my first job was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Jefferson City, Tennessee, 40 miles east of Knoxville, and Fayetteville, Arkansas is not really conducive to being close before the cell phone age, and long distance was expensive. And so we actually had a conversation. We either got to go all the way, or maybe we should postpone this relationship because it's difficult. The only way to see her was to fly, and flying's not what it was over 30 years ago like it is today. You just didn't do that. Really expensive, and I didn't have any money. How are we gonna do that? So it's different. Anybody else before I call on you? Taylor, you're on the front row, man.
Ours is a little bit different.
Spill the beans.
Ripe old age of 15 when we started dating. So, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I remember when y'all first started dating, actually. So how long did y'all date?
Too long.
That's what she told me, but
yeah.
I mean,
10 years.
10 years?
Before we got married.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got 3 kids now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Seem to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just getting it out of you. He's blushing over here. Yeah.
I feel better. Mine was 8. And I thought that was long. I didn't realize it was 10 years.
9. We got
When
married
we
when we were
started,
24.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and again, 15 is when we started dating. So.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Nothing wrong with that. You'd rather wait too long than get into something too quick and it not be the right fit. You got to know the person. You got to know the person. Anybody else? I have to stare down. Wayne?
Mine's kind of recent.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but I started, saw her first time in June, and I proposed in October. And I knew about the first date that we were there that she's the one for me. She wanted to go to church. She didn't. She wanted to. She wanted to make me breakfast. That's what we started out every morning when I went. Stayed at the hotel, came over to her house for breakfast. Made breakfast, and then we went out and did stuff. And then one of the first things we did was go to Baby's tribute band. So I knew what if she knew my songs or not.
It was Queen, right?
We did
We did Queen the other week.
yeah. But just going to see what we just clicked. And we were able to talk and get along. And then she actually held my hand when I asked her to. It's just I know what I want. So it didn't take me long to decide.
Fair enough. So one of the questions in the book, if I can remember, it wanted us to remember what was one of the funniest moments in our relationship or one of the angriest. So I'm going to kind of forget the angriest. I don't really want to bring out anybody's dirty laundry in here. So let's talk about maybe one of the funniest or one of the most impactful moments, if you have one, that you remember that was kind of a turning point that said, hey, I really, really like this person, or is there one? I have one. I'm going to wait and see if anybody else jumps in first to see if there was a moment where you said, okay, yeah, I'm even at another level now. I really like this person. Does anybody have a moment like that you can share? Tom?
She used to love horses, and I was starting in veterinarian school and stuff, and we kind of went on a date horseback riding, and I was like, man, we got a little bit in common. She doesn't like sports. Of course, I did like sports. Of course, we got married very early. We dated probably 6 months, but that outdoorsy type was like, yeah, this may work. Of course, there was other incidents, and dates, but that was kind of the one thing, like, wow, she's not afraid to do hardly anything. So that kind of just stuck with me.
Thank you. The one reason I don't want to dwell on the negative, but if you're dating or whatever, I do suggest that if you're not married, you need to have at least 1 to 2 good disagreements. I don't necessarily mean fights, but you need to have a fairly healthy disagreement, because it's important to understand how the person argues and how they argue. And because you can have constructive arguments. We don't need degrading arguments, because that's a trait that's going to be hard to overcome as we get older if it's bad that way. So I always like to see kind of how my partner would overcome some kind of adversity, kind of how they would come around disagreement. Are they going to get real personal with me? Are they going to give me general? It can be impactful, it can be hurtful, but it needs to be a constructive type of hurtful. If you understand what I'm saying there, I would never call my wife stupid, ever. So, but I may say, well, that's not the smartest thing you've ever said, right? Well, she says that to me, but not to her. But you see that that's a big difference. That's a big difference in what we would say. I would never degrade her in that way, even at the height of our age. I do remember flying to Fayetteville, and to Knoxville, and we were just dating, and we decided to go out for a picnic up in the woods up in Gatlinburg. Well, it got dark, and I took Amy's keys off the key ring, and we lost them in the middle of nowhere in the woods. No cell phones. It's dark. Can't find the keys. And we looked till about 1 that morning. Now, keep in mind, I can't call her dad saying, hey, we're not coming home. You don't know where we are. We're not home. It's 1 in the morning. So we're going to spend the night in the car, or we're going to start walking. Because the winds are through the trees. It's like some big horror movie. There could be bears or snakes or whatever. So we start walking at about 2 in the morning. She's got some golf clubs in the back. And I'm Samson. I got a driver in my hand. It's really gonna do good. So we walk about a mile and a half, and it's funny because we found the ranger station, and he said, yeah, they could use your golf club as a toothpick. So that's really handy there. I felt good. I was the man. But we were able to call her dad, and he came and picked us up, and from 45 minutes back to Sevier County, to Pigeon Forge, there was a lot of silence in the truck. So I don't know if he didn't believe me, didn't really know me, I don't know. But Amy sat in the middle, and I was just standing over here. I wasn't going to get near him. But luck found it, he was able to go back up and find the key. He was weighted up in some kind of gear shift, so he understood, so it worked out. But to my knowledge, we never argued over that. I don't think. Yeah, we're kind of scared. But I think we could have really probably bit each other's heads off and blamed each other for who misplaced the key, who did, and it would have done any good. So did the argument mean more than the spouse? Does any argument mean more than the spouse? So something to keep in mind. Anybody else have a funny moment or anything that's happened to them that you think you'd like to share?
Wayne and I have bonded over bad Airbnb problems. Like, we'll go for a weekend somewhere and there's no electricity. There's twice it's happened now where we've turned up, we can't get in the door, it's freezing cold. We've just had these experiences that actually bring us closer together. We've worked out that we do really well in situations like that, and also when the ceiling falls in at home. But you work out how well you cope with these things and whether it makes you fight with each other or whether it brings you closer. And so we've discovered that it brings us closer to it.
Yeah, good comment. Do we ever think that when you're ever going through maybe a challenging time, do you ever get a chance to sit down and think about some of the positive things that's happened? Maybe a child's birth, maybe a graduation, maybe the baby's first day of school or a special birthday. Do you have a chance to sit down and reflect any at all, even when you're younger? You can always sit back and reflect because it's a challenge. There's been many times I know we've been busy and we wonder what we were doing. And, you feel like you're always grabbing the kids and rushing to church, and couldn't tell you what that sermon was. I have no idea. I was too busy changing diapers or hitting him or something. I don't know. But you're busy. But you created habits of coming to church and showing discipline and doing those things, and it's very, very important because you're always teaching somebody, or your presence is encouraging somebody else that sees you in the seat. And we're following Hebrews 10 of assembling ourselves together. There's always a purpose, and it's not. Sometimes we look so much inward. Well, what's in it for me? And what's in it for the other person? What's in it for my spouse? Turn to 1 Corinthians 13. Let's bring a little scripture in here at least. We hear this a lot in wedding vows, and sometimes I wonder if we come back and remind ourselves the kind of people that we're supposed to be. Starting in verse 4, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. How often, as we get older, do we insist on having things our own way? And how often, as we continue to get older, we might be a little irritable or resentful when we don't get things to go our way? How easy is it to get caught up in those kind of things about not always having our way? And we had some good friends, and I told Kendall on the way here, a very good friend of our couple in East Tennessee, who felt like he couldn't grow in his job, and he wanted to transfer to Smyrna, Middle Tennessee, to a principal's position because he felt like he had hit a ceiling for one reason or the next. And the wife said, I don't want to go. This is my home. My parents are here. I don't want to go. He wants to go. She don't want to go. They don't go. Now they got a decision to make. Is he going to be resentful forever that they couldn't go? Or is he going to still have the love and compassion with her and not feel any resentment at all? You can take that any way you want to. You can see where that slope can go. Okay? So the other part of the story is, like Paul Harvey says, the rest of the story, this young friend of ours got testicular cancer within a few months after that, went through a tremendous amount of treatments. And he was at home with all of his friends and family to take him to his chemo and those kind of things. So in hindsight, they were probably in the best place they could have been by not taking that job in Middle Tennessee, with no family, no friends, no anything. So before we jump to conclusions about whether they did or didn't do the right thing, he was where he needed to be at that time, right? So if you think about that, he could still be resentful of her, or why didn't she show enough love to follow him wherever he thought he needed to take the family? You can take that any way you want to. But the thing is, this is the point of what could drive and wedge into a couple. You have to be on the same page. And if you love one another, you have to make those decisions together. And when you make the decision, don't hold a grudge. Don't be resentful. Move forward together. There is no room for that. Once you start picking and choosing, then it's going to draw a wedge, and you allow other people that come in and give your spouse compliments because you don't anymore, or they want to spend some time with them because they don't anymore, or they listen to your worries and struggles because you don't anymore, because you're resentful. You allow all this to come in and pick up your gaps. I hope that makes a lot of sense to all of us. And this, no matter if we've been married 5 years or 50 years, even the smallest of things are worth mentioning. Even the smallest of compliments are big. I think Amy likes to hear me give her compliments today. I'm pretty sure she does. I know I like to hear them back. And it could be just as simple as compliments. You know, doesn't have to be big. Any comments to all of this discussion?
Okay, so I'm not married right at the moment, but I would like to tell you married folks here that when we're praying out there in the auditorium and you hold your spouse's hand. I never got to see that growing up in the church, and I've been in the church since I was born. But it's an encouragement to me. It lets me know that there are relationships out there where they do put God first. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that. I thought about that the whole time we've had this class. You know, it's such an encouragement. And I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. Anybody else got any comments? Your spouse holding your hand. I know that there's times that me and Amy might not be fighting, but we might not be on the best of emotional places on the way to church on a Sunday morning. But to have her reach over and grab my hand while we're going to a prayer, that's great. That's silly. That's whatever we learned about this silly. It can end potentially a lot of disagreements. It will help you move on. Those kind of subtleties, those kind of things. So the touchy can be good between spouses. It is a good thing. It is a good thing. It is a good thing. And the thing is, that's not a little thing. To me, I think that's a big thing. It's the little things. And so now that I turn around, we've been married 31 years. And it seemed like I'd have been married 3 years. So, but we can't forget. We call it the little things, but I think everything's kind of a big thing. Anybody else? Any other comments in here?
I mean, we pray to let our light shine to others, and I think just those little bitty things is letting our light shine for those who see it, you know, as your comment. So, it's a good thing. You need to keep doing it, whether you're single or, you know, dating someone or married like us 43 years. We still want to let people know that, in my case, she's the only one.
Yeah. Good comment. Fair enough. Is there any area or any hedge that you think that the author hasn't covered or we haven't talked about? We only have 6 on the board, but it covers a wide range of things. Is there a hedge that you think you need to plant that would strengthen your relationship even more, whether it's listed or not? But have we missed anything? Has the author really missed anything? Do you have another boundary that you need? I do have a friend that had a problem with internet sites, so he disconnected his internet on his phone. Good call. It's fine. So, and it doesn't have to necessarily be that specific, but is there anything that we've missed? That
This book, the last time it was revised was 2005.
Yeah.
So
20 years
social
ago.
media wasn't really a thing. Like, you still had to have a college email address to use Facebook.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff is in there. And I think in general there's probably another update that can be done because a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of things have changed. But social media and all the different ways you can get in trouble via social media and the dangers that can cause. I mean, Whitney and I have some friends that we used to go to church with. Social media has played a big impact in the destruction of their marriage.
Yeah.
Because the access that it allowed for other relationships to take hold and continue, even when those people, are separated by hundreds and hundreds of miles. Because of social media, they could still, grow that extramarital relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's obviously a big one that is lacking from the book.
Yeah, you could have a whole book on social media, but he mentions some of it in the chapters, but you could have a whole lesson on social media and the dangers of reconnecting with friends wherever they are. I watched a documentary 2 weeks ago where this guy kind of had a double life because he was a traveling salesman, and he met all these women through the internet in all these towns, and how easily accessible it is, and all the human trafficking and all the dangers that we get in. Social media can be a great thing, but it can be a very dangerous world also for the wrong reasons. So yeah, that's a good point. It could definitely be up there. So the thing we have to do is recognize that if we feel like we have a problem with certain sites and certain restrictions, one of the hardest things they're going to do is to admit and have a conversation with your spouse that you're struggling with something, and what kind of hedge or boundary do you need to create to control that. Saved by the bell. Well, it's good to see y'all. Thank you for coming. I hope y'all have safe travels wherever you're going through. Good comment. I mean, that was fantastic.
Didn't call him.
I know. I'm giving you an out now.
I was waiting for it. I really thought they didn't touch that.
I thought about it.
You know? Today. Yeah, but
I turned the hair down. You don't want the hair right anymore. I can feel it.
yeah.
Feel it? Good to have you today. Thank you.
You're not supposed to like see someone.
I mean, I felt my drive it for me.
The only thing good about that is there's not really traffic. We do, but we don't have those out there. Like in all those parts of Arkansas,